Hello guys and gals, welcome back to Shitpastas! Yes, it's that time of the month again where we take a look at two shitty pastas, okay? Now these have to be creepy pastas, they can't be troll pastas. You send them to me and I look for them myself, but at the end of the day we find two shit pastas. Today I've got a Grand Theft Auto 4 one called He Wants His Mama, that should be exciting, and I got Sonic's Pentagram, a Sonic the Hedgehog creepy pasta. Exciting stuff, okay? Now we're going to take a look at this. Remember, we're not total assholes, so we're going to give some constructive criticism. We're going to see which one is better at the end and what holds up better. We're going to try to see what we can change to make them better, and that's really all we're going to do. But let's take a fun look at two of these shitty pastas. We're going to dive into He Wants His Mama first, a Grand Theft Auto 4 creepypasta. GTA 4 was never a game I really got into. I've wanted to play but never got the chance, but I definitely do not want to play it now. It all started a couple weeks ago. My friends and I were having lunch and talking about video games. The topic of GTA 4 that was brought up really seemed to spook my friend. "What's wrong?" I asked. "GTA 4, that's what's wrong," he replied. "What, do you not like the game?" I said. He began to describe to us how this ghost kid he found in GTA 4, and I like the generally creepy things, so while my other friends left, I listened. He told me that he had two occurrences of this ghost kid. What really caught me was that it was a ghost kid. I know for a fact that there are no kids in the game. If there were, the game would have been rated adults only, because you could kill children then. Anyway, he told me his first interaction with the ghost kid was at the top of the tallest building in Liberty City. He said his character was walking around when he made a pushing motion, like the guy would if someone is in his way, but nothing was there. He then heard a kid voice say, "Ow." His second occurrence happened on the street. He was riding a motorcycle around and saw one that was better than his. He went to go take it, but there was no one on it. Yet his character made the motion of shoving someone out of the motorcycle. He then said he heard a voice of the kid say, "You're mean." I found this really interesting, so I asked if I could come over and check it out myself. He said yeah, and we went to his house. We played until 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and no sign of the ghost kid showed up. I started to think that my friend was lying, and we started to argue. We stopped around 9 and he went to bed, but I stayed up. I was reluctant, but I played Grand Theft Auto 4 again to see if he would show up. I started playing and grabbed a motorcycle. When I was driving around, a truck, which was going faster than it should, hit me. When I looked closely at it, there was no one in the driver's seat. It turned around and came back to me, so I ran into an alleyway. As I was walking down this alley, my character kept on making pushing motions on nothing. I then heard a voice say, "This cannot help you." I was creeped out and started to run the other way, but for some reason, it went on forever. There was no end. I thought to myself that I was doomed because as I ran, the ghost kid took a visible form and started chasing me. Demonic laughter, demonic, started playing as I ran, and childish voices said, "You cannot escape." More ghost kids started showing up, and finally, my guy stopped moving. The laughter stopped. The voices stopped. Everything stopped, except for one thing. The ghost kid. The ghost kid started walking up to me very slowly, but it was moving. I sat and watched in horror as it slowly came up to me and started talking. I couldn't understand some of it, but this is what I heard. Why? Why did you do it? Why did you kill my mama? I just wanted my mama, but you killed her. Now you will pay." At that moment, the ghost kid grabbed my character's head and ripped it off, spinal cord and all. I didn't want to see this, so I covered my eyes, but I couldn't help looking. The game over screen appeared, but the blood was dripping, and the ghost kid's face was there, smiling demonically. I shut the game off then and turned off my friend's Xbox. My friend then woke up and asked what all the noise was about. I told him what happened. He just shook his head. "Dude, I made it up just to scare you." "No, it was real. I saw it," I replied. "Come on, you were hallucinating because of a lack of sleep. Let's go to sleep." "Fine," I said. That night, I could not fall asleep. I was too shaken. I looked at my friend's posters of Grand Theft Auto 4 to help me go to sleep. But as I looked, the ghost kid started to appear in the posters. After that, I don't think I can ever sleep again. It all began when Michael, a 5-year-old gamer and a fan of Sonic, had been told stories by his parents. Stories about his parents playing Mario on their Nintendo and Pac-Man on their old Atari when they were kids. Michael's parents, although they told many stories, were abusive and angry at their son, and would ground him for no reason. Emotionally and physically abusing Michael, who was a young fat boy, could not bear the pain. Michael's parents always told him how they stored their old systems in a box in their attic. One Sunday, Michael's parents were fast asleep with earplugs on. They put a sign on their door that said, "Do not disturb." Michael loved to play Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, and Sonic Generations on his Xbox 360, but had a strong curiosity for classic games. Michael was playing Sonic Generations, fighting the Egg Dragoon boss. While he was doing so, he eventually beat Eggman's machine and decided to turn off the console. Michael, out of boredom and curiosity, was tempted to go into the attic and retrieve one of the old systems for himself, but his parents had told him not to so many times. But he was a sensitive little boy. But Michael, knowing that his parents were fast asleep, decided to attempt to sneak into the attic and retrieve the old Nintendo and Atari his parents used to play. Michael then got up and walked out his door and walked towards the attic stairs. Once he got into his attic, he felt a slight cold breeze come over him, and it reeked with the stench of a dead rodent. Michael looked around to see almost nothing but one box. The box appeared to be entirely open, so he walked up to it and looked into the opening. Michael hoped it would be full of several game systems, but it only contained one system that read Sega Genesis. My parents never played the Nintendo or the Atari, he thought to himself. Michael decided to take the old system downstairs anyways, only out of curiosity for classic games. But when Michael picked up the system, it didn't feel old. It felt like it had just been recently used. Being young, this didn't put any sort of strange feeling into Michael's head. Michael saw that something was under the system. It was an old Sega game that read Sonic the Hedgehog. "Oh boy, an old Sonic game," he thought to himself. Michael decided to take the Sega downstairs and play Sonic. Even though he was young, Michael was able to figure out how to plug in the cords. He turned on the TV and waited for the Sega to load. Upon loading the game, it seemed normal. Michael plugged the Sonic game and proceeded to wait for the game to load. "I'm so excited and my meanie parents don't know. Hee hee hee," said Michael. Michael then saw the game load. It was the Sonic the Hedgehog title screen in the Green Hill Zone in the background. As the game loaded, Michael started off in what said Stage 1, Green Hill Zone. Michael saw a classic pixelated Sonic and proceeded to move around with him. As Michael ran into enemies, he lost some rings, but jumped on them to kill them. Out of the enemies came no animals, but the enemies just turned gray and lay on the ground. Michael thought this was to be in the original game as he never played it before, so he proceeded on. Michael then went stage through stage of Green Hill Zone levels until he got to the Egg Wrecking Ball boss. Michael saw that Dr. Robotnik had a sad look on his face, as if he was about to die, but just ignored this and proceeded on. Michael kept on jumping and on the green rods, and jumped into the Wrecking Ball machine several times until it was destroyed and said Michael had won the fight. Michael then saw Eggman run away crying in a text box, popping up saying, "You devil, you just had to torment me again." Michael didn't ignore this. He started crying, but his parents didn't hear him. Michael closed his eyes and cried for 10 minutes, until he finally opened his eyes, and as he slowly looked up, he saw something gruesome. He saw that the Green Hill Zone was gray with mist surrounding it. But the worst new feature was Sonic. He had no eyes, just hollow, dark eye sockets, and he was gray. Sonic looked dead, and so did the enemies walking around the zone. Michael felt uneasy, but was intrigued to keep playing. Michael proceeded to try to move Sonic, but he just wouldn't move. A text box then appeared saying, "Destroy the game, Michael, or he'll come for you too." Michael felt frightened, but kept trying to move Sonic with tears running down his cheeks and confusion running through his head. Now another text box appeared saying, "Stop trying to save me. He'll come for me, but he won't be able to come for you. Just destroy the game." Michael then felt this was real. "Who's coming?" asked Michael. Sonic just stood there, smiling at Michael. Then another text box appeared saying, "You're gonna be okay, old buddy." Michael then saw something pop up behind Sonic. It was a dark figure with horns, wings, and claws. "Goodbye," Sonic said through the TV speakers. The dark figure then stabbed Sonic with his claws and began to absorb him. In about 3 minutes, the figure looked a little like Sonic, but something was entirely different. Sonic was completely dark with red glowing eyes. Razor-sharp teeth came from the mouth with a menacing smile that stared at Michael. Michael started crying and screaming as Sonic began to speak. "Hello, you fat little fuck. I just want to eat your soul." "Who are you? What did you do with Sonic?" asked Michael. Sonic stood there for a few seconds to smile with his razor-sharp teeth and began to speak. "Michael, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Satan. Now, just lend yourself over and we can work this out." "What happened with Sonic?" Michael asked. At this point, the morbid Green Hill zones changed to a stage full of volcanoes, lakes of fires, and demons! Sonic smiled as the demon ripped the dead-looking Sonic apart. In the background were voices uttering an unspeakable language. Michael at this point went up to his desk and got his wooden cross. Bring Sonic back in the name of... But before Michael could proceed, Sonic screamed in a monstrous voice, and his cross fell apart in two. Michael began to feel threatened, and screamed prayers as Sonic screamed, "Satanas ex mortis." At this point, Sonic screamed, "Stop!" But this was a different voice. Then a gray text box appeared saying, "Destroy the damn console! I told you he'll come for you!" Then it began to rain outside of Michael's house, and Sonic began to take the form of a more sinister-looking creature. Blood ran from his mouth, and he was devouring the corpse of Dr. Robotnik mercilessly. Michael then threw up and got really sick. Sonic just laughed maniacally, and proceeded to rip apart what seemed to be the bodies of Knuckles and Tails. Demons went up to them, and began devouring their bodies. Michael then picked up the console and threw it on the ground. The game topped, but Michael saw the TV with a message on it. "Thanks for the soul, Michael. You really helped out." The message also had a red 5-pointed star facing down on it. Well then, that was enjoyable. 2 creepypastas focusing on demonic events happening in video games. Like many other creepypastas. But I digress. Let's look at He Wants His Mama first. Oh boy, what can we say about this one? It's about a kid who plays GTA at a friend's and looks for a ghost kid for hours on end. It wouldn't be a bad creepypasta, really, if it had some build-up, to be honest, and some believable phenomena. Think about it. Grand Theft Auto 4 and its predecessors are some games that are rumored to contain shit like this, even nodded to in some games by Rockstar themselves, and despite constant proof on either side, there are still people who believe some of these myths in the numerous games, whether it be Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas, or Grand Theft Auto 4. These games contain numerous myths, which have been disproven, but a strong community still finds proof and theories that make you think that it could be real. With the dynamic, at least for its time, mind you, open world, it seems like it could really contain some stuff like this, happening later on in the game during the nighttime hours in the game. This creepypasta wasn't horrible, and it's like the last Shitpasta episode we did, where we looked at 3 AM with Colonel Campbell. The pasta's idea wasn't bad, but the execution was not up to par, and the same goes for this creepypasta as well. It could have gradually built up the phenomena more and more as each hour went by, starting from small things to more intricate things. It's fleshing out lore. Hell, it could have even went the Godzilla NES route with screen caps and whatnot. That would take more time, and it would require, I guess, modifying the game, but this creepypasta, and the game it's based on, has the potential for a good, entertaining, and chilling creepypasta. But ultimately it went down with throwing out this ghost kid with little to no build-up, really. And although the encounter in the alleyway was interesting, and I guess the lack of fleshing out this tale really killed the atmosphere and impact that scene even had, and ultimately left this creepypasta into shitpasta territory. I guess if the lore and events and phenomena were more fleshed out and the building up was there, it would have been a lot more better. Like I always say, in my opinion, for a creepypasta to really be good, it has to have that build-up. Another thing I found laughable was that the game that just scarred you, by the way, you're looking at its posters to fall asleep. You're just looking at the ground, and the ghost kid appears in it. I mean, are you fucking real? That's really all I have to say about He Wants His Mama. It's got a nice concept. The game it's based on, Grand Theft Auto 4, could totally support this type of creepypasta, but the execution was far too lacking. What about Sonic's Pentagram? Let's move on there. Starts out with a sad tale about Michael, who's abused by his parents, with the parents telling stories of their old gaming days, but seem to shelter the kid from those retro systems. I mean, kind of weird, but whatever, let's move on. And this creepypasta is alright till then. I mean, it's not horrible, but what kills it, and I mean kills it, is those cliches. And I'm not talking about the sad character faces or anything, you know, that Robotnik hat, since that's actually explained in this creepypasta somewhat due to the fact that Michael is a younger gamer with no knowledge of what the original Sonic really is like. Unlike most gamers who do read this creepypasta now, so I can let it get away with that. But boy, the one thing that killed it, that really killed it, was a fight at the end. You might have heard me laugh in the voiceover when I was reading the creepypasta, and that wasn't a haha laugh, that was a facepalm laugh. The whole blood and gore, literally every single gore cliche and blood cliche we've looked at is present here in the worst possible way. It's like sticking that knife in deeper each time a cliche is mentioned. The glowing red eyes, devouring, ripping apart bodies, blood coming from the mouth, at least it's not the eyes, but it's coming from the mouth. Demonic speaking, it was like an unexplainable, like unheard language, but it's demonic chanting, I guess. It seemed that this creepypasta had it all. It's not really killing the creepiness, as it really had no creepiness to begin with. It starts with backstory, okay? Sad backstory, kid goes to the attic with the ghost hinted there, you know, with the cold streak of air and whatnot, the breeze. Box was there. Michael finds Genesis, which was recently used, but he didn't know it. That wasn't explained very well either. I mean, did he or did he not? Goes to play the game. I know he wasn't, like, disturbed by it, but whatever. He goes to play the game then. Boss battle with Robotnik, and everything then goes to shit, okay? Even before, you know, it went to shit, but literally the only build-up there was like 3 lines of dialogue from the game. And, you know, Michael, by the way, seeing the game even referencing the devil again, it was before the Robotnik fight as well, but seeing the game reference the devil, cries for 10 minutes, which for a kid is believable, but then comes back to the game and plays it. Look, I know curiosity is curiosity, and I even use this as a defense for some creepypastas, but if a game makes you cry for 10 minutes, you then proceed to turn it the fuck off. Then the devil shows up, which, by the way, he speaks like he's the chillest devil ever, like businessman devil, Donald Trump devil, okay, wanting to quote-unquote work things out. Then it turns out like The Exorcist or some shit. Then it's over with a pentagram on the TV. Nothing is explained afterwards. Did Michael forget? Did he tell his fucking parents about such an event? Probably not, considering the history, you know, with the beast and whatnot. And I guess he wasn't allowed to take the game out from the attic. Did the devil really take his soul, since it seems Michael's still alive and I guess normal? We just end on a cliffhanger. Like he wants his mama. That creepypasta, okay? He wants his mama. That's really all I have to say about these shitpastas. That's it. You know, I think He Wants His Mama could have been a good creepypasta if the execution was massively reworked and improved. Sonic's Pentagram? Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems like Burn Baby Burn. It's got to be remade with a lot of work on the creepy game itself and the whole creepypasta. I think the premise of Michael, you know, a younger gamer finding a seemingly treasure trove of retro games that are actually haunted, with the added quirk of Michael actually not even differentiating with what's real, like what's normal for these games and what's haunted, unlike some experienced gamers, and slowly building up, you know, these creepy events, preferably across multiple games, maybe even transforming Michael into a darker character, you know, the whole taking the soul, I guess, but doing it in, I guess, a real way, slowly possessing him, if you will. You know, if that was there, you know, maybe it would have been a really interesting creepypasta, and I would like to see it then, too, if it fleshed out properly. But that's really all I gotta say about these creepypastas, shitpastas, whatever. Which one do you think is better? Which one do you enjoy the most? Which one do you think had more potential? What would you rate these, and what would you change, or what would you add, change to make these creepypastas better? This has been another episode of Shitpastas, and if you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.